Hi everyone, I'm Shelly from There's No Place Like Home at redheadmom8.wordpress.com. Today I'm going to be talking to you about government schools. And yes, I do mean public schools because government school and public school are both the same thing. And what I'm going to talk to you about today is the fact that government schools are far more dangerous than most people think. If someone were to ask you what you think of government school or public school, if you prefer, what would you say? If you would ask a group of people what they think about it, you would likely get all different answers. Some people might say that it's ineffective or failing. Other people might say that it's doing its job well. Still others might say that it's indoctrination, and another group of people might say that it is a great privilege for people to have in a free country. What I'm going to talk to you about today, though, is the fact that government schooling is dangerous. And when I say dangerous, I'm not talking about dangerous in that typical way that most people think of when it comes to school. Sure, there is bullying at school. There's school violence. There's predatory teachers. There are lots of ways that you can say that school is dangerous, but there is one way that it is the most sinister of all. Now, unfortunately, this way that school is the most dangerous of all, some people have an inkling that it's going on. They know that it's happening, but yet they think that there are ways that they can counteract it. So let me just come out and say it. It's indoctrination. Now, when most people complain about school indoctrination, they are complaining about it because it is affecting their child. And there are a lot of people who say that even though they send their kids to public school, when their kids come home, they tell them the truth and they tell them what they should and shouldn't believe, and they try to counteract the things that they're learning in school all day. Unfortunately, though, not all families are doing that. And the problem is that instead of just looking at indoctrination and how it affects your child, because let's be honest, those of us who have conservative beliefs, those beliefs are not being backed up in schools. But the thing is it's not just about our child. No, we don't want our kids to think those things. We don't want our kids to be misled. But the problem is that there are generations of people now who are being misled, and this is going to affect, it has affected the very core nature of our country as a whole. Right now, we have a pretty delicate balance between one side and the other in the United States. And that's a good thing, because if you lean too far to one side, you're going to end up having a totalitarian country. And unfortunately, what I see falling into place because of the things that are being taught in school, because of the way that things are being taught in school, we are going to end up on that unbalanced scale very, very quickly. Because government schools are state propaganda, just as the media is. If you saw my other video where I talked about Project Mockingbird and how mainstream media, yes, it is government propaganda, so are our schools. The things that are being taught in our school system are being taught for the benefit of the statist government. And that is really an issue, and that is why government should not be running schools at all. At least not schools that are meant for true education. The schools that you see being run by the government, while people will fight you tooth and nail and say that public schools are not government schools, they are. They are government schools because they are being run by the government. The standards are being assigned by the government. Yes, they're government schools. Now, the problem on top of that, besides all of the things that are being fed to your children that are really only to enhance the state and are not for their education, is the way that teaching itself has changed. Now, the way that teaching used to be is that teachers were supposed to teach kids how to read and write. And then they would teach them, objective facts, about science, about history, about different subject areas. Unfortunately, that's not what's happening much anymore. Teachers today are being encouraged to be agents of change. And some places will go as far as to tell them not to even think of themselves as educators or teachers, but to think of themselves as agents of change. Now, what an agent of change is told that actually is that they should use those passions. Let their passions ignite their students to help them change the world. Do you see where I'm going with this? Instead of being taught objective facts, things that are true, children are starting to be taught the opinions, the passions of the particular teachers that they have. This is why you see so much emotion coming as a result of school now instead of facts, instead of truth. You know, a great saying that people say nowadays is, the facts don't care about your feelings. And they always kind of associate that with conservatives saying that. But truly, that is what's happening. That's why you see so many teachers who are saying not evil things, but saying negative things about Trump, or are pounding into their kids about climate change, or are pushing their kids when it comes to feminism, their students. So these kids are not being taught the things that we know for a fact are 100% true. They are being driven in the direction of their teachers' passions. They are at the mercy of their teachers. And unfortunately, what is happening is that the new generation of teachers, they have been going through leftist universities. They have likely had a pretty leftist education while they were growing up. Not as bad as it is now, but it was getting there at that point. But then once they get to the university level, that is where it is the worst of all. So what's happening is these universities are pumping out educators, agents of change that have one thing on their mind: social justice, protesting, anything that is against what a conservative belief would be. And not specifically because it's against what a conservative belief would be, but just because that is what is being taught in the colleges. It is the complete opposite. So these people, these educators are coming out of the schools. They are teaching the kids in these schools now. And the kids have years and years of going through this with their teachers. What is going to eventually happen is that the percentage of kids who have been, who are knowledgeable in truth, who are knowledgeable in conservative values, who are knowledgeable in black and white issues, they're going to be few and far between. And what's going to happen is that this country that our forefathers fought for, that was founded on truth and liberty and freedom, is no longer going to exist. And I want you to think about that. Because again, the indoctrination at schools goes far beyond just your child. It is going to affect not only generations of people, but it's going to change our country forever. That's all that I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one over on Instagram because YouTube disabled my comments. And if you like my work and would like to check out my Patreon page, I will leave a link in the description box for that as well. And I hope you have a great day.